The FUTQA GCSE maths paper just got leaked. We're going to go through it today. If you want to try it on your own first, there's a link in the description for you to access the paper, and then you can watch the video when you've got time. There's going to be a range of questions on foundation and higher topics. Once you've completed this paper, I'd recommend you look at actual past papers from your exam board, and that'll be the best form of revision. Now that we've got the introduction sorted, let's get straight into it. Question 1. Adebayo Akinfenwa was famous for his massive frame, an absolute unit at 104 kilos. Marco Verratti weighs just 60 kilos. The poor guy always just gets absolutely bullied. Calculate the difference in weight between Akinfenwa and Verratti and give your answer in grams. We need to find the difference between both of these. We're going to take them away from each other. I'm doing 104, take away 60. 60 to get to 100 is 40, so it's going to be 44. And this is in kilos. We want to change it into grams because the answer is in grams. 1 kilogram is the same as 1,000 grams, and that means we need to multiply by 1,000 to get into grams. It's going to be 44 with 3 zeros, 44,000 grams. Peter Crouch stands at 6 feet 7 inches tall, one of the lankiest, I think it means broomsticks, that probably fits in there, in Premier League history. Convert Crouch's height into meters. 1 foot is equal to 0.3 meters and 1 inch is equal to 2.5 centimeters. Let's focus on these 6 feet first. We're converting 6 feet into meters. On the left, we've times by 6. On the right, we need to times by 6. If we ignore the decimals, we've got 3 times 6, which is 18. And there's 1 decimal place there, so it would be 1.8 meters. We need to convert this 7 inches now. It's going to be 7 inches there. We multiplied by 7 there, and we need to multiply by 7 there. 7 multiplied by 2 is 14. And if you do a half times by something, you're just dividing it by 2. A half times by 7, half of 7 is 3.5. So if I multiply 2.5 by 7, I get 17.5, and that would be in centimeters. We want our final answer in meters, so we need to add this and this in meters. We've got 1.8, and if I change this into meters, I need to divide it by 100 because 1 meter is the same as 100 centimeters. This would become 0.175. And if I add these up together, it's going to be quite easy. That's going to be a 5, that's going to be a 7, a 9, and a 1. It'd be 1.975 meters, very close to 2 meters. Question 2. A rare 91 rated gold Kylian Mbappe card is listed on the transfer market for a ridiculous 1,284,475 coins because everyone and their nan wants that 97 pace. Write the number correct to the nearest thousand. If we want to round to the nearest thousand, we want to find where the thousands are. That's my units, my tens, my hundreds. That's going to be my thousands, and the comma helps us. I'm going to put a line after the 1,000, and the 4 is telling us that we're rounding down. It would be 1.284, and then the rest of it will just be zeros. Part B, write the number correct to 2 significant figures. Well, all of these numbers are significant because there's no zeros at the start. I just count 1, 2. I put my line in. It's 5 or above. That means I need to shove this one up to a 3. It'd be 1.3 million. 1.3 million, which would be this, and it's got 5 zeros. That'd be 300,000 at the end. Question 3. Broke Jake starts a new Ultimate Team account with 0 coins because he did it pre-order like a mug. He grinds 3 matches in Division Rivals. The match 1, he gets 450 coins. Match 2, he gets 520. And match 3, 480. Work out the total number of coins Jake has earned after these 3 matches. We just need to add up all of these numbers. And I can see quite an easy little trick here. If I've got 520, add 480. 52 add 48 is going to be 100. And that'll just make it a little bit easier. That bit is going to be 1,000, and then I just need to add on this 450. 1,000 plus 450, which would be 1,450. Jake then spends 750 coins on the transfer market to buy a training item because he can't score a goal to save his life, so it's probably brought a speed boost or something like that. Part B, work out how many coins Brokey Jake has remaining. We start off with 1,450, and then we're taking away 750. If you didn't get part A, you can just make up any number, and as long as you take away 750 from it correctly, then you'll still get the marks. We're going to go from 750 to 1,450. I can see it's just adding 700, so the answer would be 700 there. Jake buys extra coins from U7 Buy to get his balance up to 100,000 coins. He buys 2 draft tokens at 15,000 coins each. Let's work out how much that would be. 2 times 15,000, which would be 30,000. And 4 identical shadow chemistry styles. After these purchases, Jake has 13/20ths of his 100,000 coin balance remaining. Let's work out how much he has remaining. Whenever I've got parts of a question that I can work something out from, then I'll just work it out. Rather than work it out at the end, I can probably figure out something and then get a couple of marks and then figure out what they actually want me to find out. We're trying to find 13/20ths of 100,000. We need to divide it by 20 and then times it by 13. I'm going to write it out like a fraction. 100,000 divided by 20. You can cancel off the zeros. Then we're just left with 10,000 over 2, which would be 5,000. And then we're multiplying it by 13. And 5 times 13 is 65. And it'd be 65,000. So he has 65,000 coins remaining. Work out the cost of one shadow chemistry style. He started off with 100,000. He spent 30,000. And he ended up with 70,000. And the amount that he has remaining is 65,000. 70,000 take away 65. 70 take away 65 equals 5,000. We just want to find out the cost of one of these. So 4 cards will be equal to this 5,000. We've divided by 4 on the left, and we need to divide by 4 on the right. Half of 5,000 is 2,500, and if you half it again, you get 1,250. You could just think of it as 50 divided by 2 and divide it by 2 again. You get 12.5, but here it's 1,250. The way you could check it, you could add this 4 times onto 65,000 and add 30,000 on, and you would end up at 100,000. Question 4. Here is a gold upgrade SBC function machine. You exchange gold common players for gold rare players. You put 22 gold commons into the SBC. Work out the number of items you receive. We're putting in 22. We need to take away 4, and then we need to divide by 3. 22 take away 4 would be 18, and 18 divided by 3 would be 6. Part B, in a different daily login SBC, the reward is 50 gold contracts. The rule for this machine is we're timesing by 2, and then we're adding 6, and then we're ending up with 50 gold contracts. Work out how many players you chucked in. Well, we end up with 50, and we need to do the opposite of adding 6, which is taking away 6, and the opposite of timesing by 2 would be divide by 2. 50 take away 6 would be 44. 44 divided by 2 would be 22. And if you did it the other way around, 22 times 2 plus 6 would give you 50. It would be 22. Question 5. Sweaty Simon is grinding weekend league wins over a 5-week season to hit rank 1 rewards. He earns 650 coins for every win during the weekend. Simon also receives a single season completion bonus of 30,000 coins. He records the number of wins on his account at the start and end of each weekend. Simon's goal was to reach a total of 60 weekend wins. Does he reach his goal? Show your working. We've got a table here. It shows the start of the weekend, the end of the weekend. We've got 5 weeks. At the start of the weekend, he had 350. At the end of the weekend, he's got 364. That means he's won 14 games. The difference between these two numbers are 14. The next week, he started on 367. That means he's played a couple of games. Probably got automatic entry to weekend league, so he didn't need to play that many. And the difference between these two would be 8. The difference between these two would be 9. The difference between these, 13, and then 14. We need to add up all of these differences. We're just going to look, are there any nice numbers that we could add up together? I think this 14 and this 14 is quite nice. 14, 28. Add another 14 is 42. Take away 1 is 41. I'm on 41 now. 41 and 9 is 50. And then 50 add 8 is 58. So he reaches 58. No, he doesn't reach his goal. Part B, work out the total amount of coins Sweaty Simon earned over the weekends during the 5-week season. He won 58 games. And he earns 650 coins for each win. We need to first do 650 multiplied by 58. And then we need to add the season completion bonus of 30,000. We need to add 30,000 to that. Let's do this 650 times 58 first. I'm going to do it using column multiplication. I'm just going to do it as 65 times 58. 65 times 58. And then I'll just put an extra 0 at the end. 8 times 5 would be 40. 8 times 6, 48. Plus 4 would be 52. This 5 isn't just a 5, it's a 50. We need to put a 0 down first. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30. Add the 2, which would be 32. Add them together. It's quite nice. 0, 7, 7, and 3. We just need to put an extra 0 on the end. It'd be 37,700 coins that he earns just from the wins. And then he earns this extra bonus. If we add 30,000 onto that, both of these up together, we get 67,700. And that's an alright total for 5 weeks. 67,700. Question 6. Erling Haaland scores 4 goals against Wolves, who's banging him in, and earns a place in the team of the week. His rare goal card is now no longer in packs. The same week, Martin Ødegaard wins the Player of the Month award. Players need Norwegian cards to complete Ødegaard's SBC. Haaland's goal card is panic bought and follows the trend below for the first 4 hours. So his card is in packs. That means his card is going to go up in price. It starts off at 22,500. And then it goes up to 24,000, and then 25,500, and then 27,000. And you can see it's a straight line. It's going up by the same amount every time. We're going to write down all of those: 22,500, 24,000, 25,500, and 27,000. Find an expression in terms of n for the nth term of this sequence. We just need to find the nth term. First thing that we need to do is find what's the common difference. What is it always going up in? If I take away this one from this one, I would see that we're always adding 1,500 each time. We're going to start off with 1,500n, and we need to write out our 1,500 times table, our 1,500 times table. Be 1,500, then 3,000, then 4,500, and then 6,000. I don't need that many. Then we're looking at the difference between there to get to there. How much have we added on? If I add on 20,000, I get to 21,500. So I need to be adding on 21,000. And we'll just check again. Do we add on 21,000 here? Yeah, we do. And again here, and again, it would be the same there. That means our final nth term sequence, we're just going to combine both of these things that we found. We've got this 1,500n plus 21,000, 1,500n plus 21,000. You could write it the other way, it doesn't really matter. Part B, use your expression to estimate the price of the card after 24 hours. We know the n is equal to the number of hours. N here is 24. We need to do 1,500 multiplied by 24, and then we're going to add on 21,000. Quick way you can multiply by 24. I think I'm going to split it up into times in by 4, because that'll make it a lot easier. You'll see why. And then times in it by 6. 1,500 times 4, if you double it twice, it'd be 3,000 and then 6,000. And then 6,000 times 6 would be 36,000. Plus the 21,000. 30 plus 20 is 50. 57,000 coins. Part C, a trader says the price of the card will continue to follow this nth term for 30 days. Explain why this might not be a realistic estimate. If we continue this on for 30 days, we're going to have to substitute in 24 times by 30, which would be 720. We're substituting in 720. N would be equal to that. That means our value of the card is going to be huge. It's going to be very high, but you would think after a certain point in time, the price will start to go down and Haaland will be back in packs. So you could say Haaland would be back in packs, so continually rising would not be possible, or anything like that, just to say that it doesn't really make sense for his price to just continue going up forever. Question 7. A new Jogo Bonito promo has just dropped and players are desperate to find the best way to spend their coins. We've got small rare gold, a rare gold, and a jumbo rare players. If we look at the first two, we can see that the price of both of these are exactly the same. They're 15,000 and 15,000, but here I get 6 and here I get 12. That means this one is not going to be worth it. I'm not even going to bother working it out. This one has 12 and this one has 24. If we can get this one to 24, then we can compare them both. Another way to do these kind of questions is also the unitary method, where you find out the value of one, where you'd find the value of one card for each one. But here it doesn't make sense to do that. It's probably better just to think of it in a smarter way. We're focusing on the rare gold pack, and it says 12 golds equal 15,000. We want to find out the price of 24 golds, and then we can compare it with this one. 24 golds. If I double this, I get 30,000. That's cheaper than 45,000. That means it'd be better for us to get this rare gold pack. Better to buy 2 of them than buy 2 of these jumbo rare players. Question 8 is a massive Champions League night knockout tie at the Theatre of Dreams. You can type in the comments what team plays at the Theatre of Dreams. Peter Drury confirms the official attendance is 74,000 rounded to the nearest 1,000. Let A be the actual number of fans in the stadium and write down the error interval for A. Here we're going to have to find our upper bound and our lower bound for the attendance. The way that I like to do it, I start off with my original number and I plus and minus my limit of accuracy. What have I rounded to? And I divide it by 2, and I'm going to get my lower bound and I'm going to get my upper bound because I get 2 answers doing this. Let's do it with this. You don't have to do it like this all the time. You'll figure out how to do it just in your head, but this is a good method just in case you forget. We're starting off with 74,000 plus and minus 1,000 divided by 2, and 1,000 divided by 2 is the same as 500. Just rewrite that as 500. My lower bound is going to be 73,500, and my upper bound would be 74,500. And the way that you know it's correct, if I round anything below this, 73,500, it would go to 73,000, not 74, so that's correct. And anything above it would round up to 75,000. Let's write it as an error interval. We're starting off with the lower bound, 73,500, and it's going to be less than or equal to, because it could be 73,500, A, and it's going to be less than 74,500. It's only a less than because if it was 74,500, it wouldn't work, and that's why we've got these signs here. Part B, during the game, 30% of the fans to the nearest 10% leave early after seeing Bruno missing a sitter. Work out the lower bound for the number of fans remaining in the stadium. If 30% to the nearest 10% have left, we want to find out as many people leaving as possible. We want to find out the upper bound of this, which would be 30 plus 10 divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. It'd be 35. We want to imagine 35% are leaving. What percentage would still be left in the stadium? It's going to be 100. Take away 35%, which is 65%. We're going to imagine that 65% are still left in because that's the lowest amount that could have been left in. I'm going to use the smallest number of fans, which would be this number here, 73,500. We're finding 65% of 73,500. This question will probably be a calculator. I change this to a decimal. I just divide it by 100, 0.65 times by 73,500, and it would be, which would be 47,775. 47,775. That's the least amount of possible remaining fans that are still in the stadium. Question 9. Trader Nick is trying to corner the market on Alejandro Garnacho after he pulls off a ridiculous bicycle kick in the Champions League. Nick buys 4 identical Garnacho cards, and each card costs X thousand coins. Nick uses a 5,000 coin discount voucher on the total. He then uses a hack to get the final price halved, and then the trader pays 18,000 coins in total. Work out the cost of each card. We're going to need to create an equation here. Because we're getting 4 of these Garnacho cards, we're starting off with 4 lots of X, 4 times by X. Nick uses a 5,000 coin discount voucher. Because this is already in thousands, I'm just going to do minus 5. He then uses a hack to get the final price halved. We're dividing it by 2. And the trader pays 18,000. It's going to be equal to 18. We just need to solve this equation. What's happening to this X? The first thing that happens is it gets times by this 4. And then we take away 5 from it. And then we're dividing by 2. And we end up with 18. So you could write this out. You don't have to. It just helps you visualize what's going on. We're going to do the opposites of all of these. We're going backwards this way. First, let's get rid of this divide by 2 by times and by 2. We've got 4x minus 5 times in this by 2. 18 times 2 is 36. Getting rid of this take away 5, we add 5. 4x would equal 41. And we want to divide by 4 on both sides. We need to half it twice. X would be equal to, if I half it once, I get 20.5. If I half it again, I half that, I get 10. If I half 50p, I get 25, 10.25. Each of Garnacho's cards are going to cost 10.25 thousand coins, 10.25k. It's going to be 10,250 coins for each. Question 10. Tom and his younger brother Danny are playing FC25 together at home. Tom plays 2 4/5 games while Danny plays 1 2/3 games. Each game lasts 90 minutes. They start playing at 3:30 p.m. but then get called down for dinner. What time do they finish playing? Let's first work out how many games they're playing altogether. We're going to have 2 4/5 plus 1 2/3. The way that I would do this one, I'd probably just add the whole numbers up together, then add the fractions, and then just change it into a mixed number. You could just change it all into an improper fraction, but then you've got to work with larger numbers. 2 add 1 is 3, and I need to do this 4/5 add 2/3. Lowest common multiple of 5 and 3 would be 15. We want to get these to be the same. 5 times by 3 gave us 15. 4 times by 3 is 12. 3 times by 5 gave us 15, so 2 times by 5 gives us 10, and it would be 12 add 10, which is 22 over 15. And if I change that into a mixed number, how many 15s go into 22? It's 1 whole with 7 remaining and be over 15. We're adding 1 7/15 to this. That would be 4 7/15. That means they're playing about 4.5 games. We're going to find 4 7/15, and we're multiplying it by 90. 4 7/15 times by 90. The way I would do this, 4 times by 90 is 360, and 7/15 times by 90, we can do a little bit of cross cancelling here. Look diagonally, can you cancel the 90 over the 15? I know they both divide by 15, that'd be 1, and 90 divided by 15 would be, I think it's 6. 7 times 6 is 42, 42 over 1 is just 42. So it's 360 plus 42, which is 402 minutes that they're playing. What would this be in hours and minutes? It would be 6 hours, which was at 360, and 42 minutes. We're going to add this on to the time that they started. They started at 3:30. 3:30 plus 6 hours and 42. If I add the 6 hours first, I end up on 9:30. I need to add 42 minutes to that. That's going to take me past 10 o'clock. It's going to be 10:12 p.m. It wants the answer in 24-hour format. I just need to add 12 to this. It's going to be 22:12. Part B, what assumption did you make for your answer to part A? Here, we just multiplied the amount of games by the amount of time that it takes to play each game. We didn't really consider loading times or spending time on team management or anything like that. The assumption that we made, the assumption is all games were played back to back. We could also say that there's going to be no stoppage time. There's a lot of different reasons that you could have given for that one. Question 11. One strip of Signal Iduna Park is shown. You can guess where that is. The strip is 6,000 centimeter long and 250 centimeters wide. 6,250. The pitch is made up of 24 identical vertical strips Only half of the strips are mown to create the mowing pattern. That means we're only mowing 12 of them. The mower can cover 5 meters squared per minute. The mower battery lasts for 5 hours. Work out whether the battery life is long enough to mow the required area. Show you working. We need to first find the area of one of these strips. Because this is in meters squared, I'm going to change these into meters, and I know that 1 meter is the same as 100 centimeters. That'd be 2.5, and that'd change to 60. I can find the area of this by doing base times height, 60 times by 2.5, or just do 6 times by 25. And if you do your 25 times table, you end up on 150 meters squared. It said there's 24 strips, and you can see the 24 strips, but we're only mowing half of them. That means we're doing 150 times by 12. Maybe break this up into a 2 and a 6. 150 times by 2, which would be 300, and then times it by 6, which would be 1,800 meters squared. That's the amount of grass that we need to mow. If the mower can cover 5 meters squared per minute, let's think about how many minutes it's going to take. We're doing 1,800 divided by 5. And a nice way to divide by 5 is you divide by 10 and then you times it by 2. If I divide by 10, I end up with 180. And if I times it by 2, I end up with 360. That means it's going to take 360 minutes. But the battery only lasts for 5 hours. We know 1 hour is the same as 60 minutes. And if we divide this by 60, we end up with 6 hours. We can see that the battery will last for 5 hours, but it's going to take 6 hours to do it. 6 is greater than 5. That means no, the battery will not last long enough. Question 12. Danny Aarons is doing a tactical masterclass on his stream. He is using a specialized 2D radar map to show how he beats the Park the Bus meta. On his in-game map, the distance between his centre back and his striker are 6 centimeters. The map has a scale of 1 to 2,000. Whenever you see scales, these are always going to be in centimeters unless they say otherwise. Work out the real distance between the two players on the actual pitch. Give your answer in kilometers. Let's write out the scale first. It's 1 to 2,000. And we want 6 of them. We've times by 6 there. We're going to times by 6 there. It's going to be 12,000 centimeters. But we need to change this into kilometers. If I want to change this into meters, because there's 100 centimeters in 1 meter, I need to divide that by 100, which would be 120 meters. And in 1 kilometer, there are 1,000 meters. To get from meters to kilometers, we divide by 1,000. It'd be 0.12 kilometers. That will be the distance between the centre back and the striker, 0.12 kilometers. Question 13. To commemorate the iconic South Africa 2010 World Cup, a vintage vault edition of the legendary Jabulani match ball has been released. It sits perfectly on a weighted cylindrical stand, and you can see the stand here. The Jabulani, a perfect sphere, has a radius of R. If you remember back in the, I think it was the 2010 World Cup? If you were around back then when the Jabulani was out, the Jabulani was a perfect sphere and it had less creases than a normal ball. The way that would fly through the air was a little bit different, and you'd see some quite cool goals with it, so you can check them out later. The cylindrical stand also has a radius of R. We'll just put that there, and a height of H. The designers of the stand made sure that both the ball and the stand contain the exact same volume of air. The volume of a sphere is this formula, and show that the ratio of R to H is 3 to 4. Let's first figure out what the formula for the volume of this cylinder would be. If we think about it, we need to find the area of the circle, and then we're going to times it by the height. What would the formula for area of a circle be? It'd be pi times by r squared, and then to find the volume of the cylinder, we need to times it by the height. It'd be pi r squared h, and we know that it's going to be equal to 4/3 pi r cubed. We want to try and get r to h, so we want to simplify this a little bit. We want to get r's on one side, and we want to get h's on the other side. I can see I've got pi on both sides. If I divide by pi, I'm left with r squared h is equal to 4/3 r cubed. And on both sides, there's an r squared. There's an r squared inside this r cubed. If I divide by r squared and I divide by r squared, I'm left with h is equal to 4/3 of r. And getting rid of this fraction, this denominator, I need to times by 3. 3h is equal to 4r. If you look here, the ratio of r to h is 3 to 4. If I just write this the other way around, r to h equals 3 to 4, I've got 4r is equal to 3h. So whenever you've got these, you just switch around the numbers, and the ratio of r to h would be 3 to 4. That means you've done it correctly. Question 14. Opta Sports, a football analytics company, models 2 performance scores using functions. The attacking score is given by this function, f of x is equal to x minus 3, and the pressing score is given by that function. Work out the value of f of g of 6. That means we're going to substitute 6 into here. We're going to swap it with the x, and then we're going to substitute that answer into f and see what we get. Put in 6 into g of x. g of 6 is equal to 4 multiplied by 6 minus 7. 24 take away 7, which would be 17. And we're going to put 17 into here. F of 17, so nice and easy. 17 take away 3, which would be 14. The coaching team wants to find the sweet spot for a player. This is the exact number of passes where squaring the attacking score gives the same result as the pressing score. Solve f of x squared is equal to g of x. Let's try and make that equation. We've got f of x squared, which is going to be x minus 3 times by x minus 3, is equal to g of x, and g of x was 4x minus 7. We just need to solve this. We're going to expand out these brackets. X times x is x squared. X times by negative 3 is negative 3x. That's the ones that we've done so far. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x, and negative 3 times by negative 3 is positive 9. It's x squared minus 6x plus 9, which is equal to 4x minus 7. We've got a quadratic here because the highest power is a 2. We want to move everything to one side so it's equal to 0. We want to move this to 4x minus 7. The opposite of adding 4x minus 7, we're going to take away 4x and we're going to add 7. So you can do both of these at the same time. The x squared is going to stay the same. X squared minus 6 take away 4, which will be minus 10x. 9 add 7, which would be 16, equals 0. Let's see if we can factorize this. We've got x squared minus 10x plus 16 equals 0. What two numbers multiply to make 16 and they're going to add to make negative 10? If you want, you could write out your factors of 16. 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and 4 and 4. And I know it's going to be this 2 and 8, and they're multiplying to make a positive, but they're adding to make a negative. That means they're both going to be negatives. It's going to be x negative 2 and x negative 8 equals 0. And to solve this, we'll just make them both equal to 0. You don't have to write this down. Once you do a few, you'll get used to it. X minus 2 equals 0, and x minus 8 is 0. So x would be equal to, for this one, it's 2, or it could be 8. Question 15. Ronaldo's transfer fees can be written in standard form. His transfer from Real Madrid to Juve was 1 times 10 to the 8. His earlier transfer from Sporting CP to United was 1.224 times 10 to the 7. Work out the difference between these two transfer fees. Give your answer as a normal number. First thing I can see is that this one is the bigger one because it's got 10 to the 8, and this one is a 10 to the 7. So I'm going to take away this one from that one. 1 times 10 to the 8 minus 1.224 times 10 to the 7. If you have standard form and you're adding and subtracting, we want these powers to be the same, and they're a little bit easier to work with them. And normally what I do is I get the smaller power to become bigger. So I'm going to keep this one as the same. 1 times 10 to the 8 minus, it's going to become 10 to the 8 here also. That means I've times by 10 here. I need to do the opposite of that. I divide by 10. It'd be 0.1224 times 10 to the 8. And then we work out what that would be. We're going to do 1 minus this 0.1224, and then it's going to end in times 10 to the 8. Let's just figure out what 1 minus 0.1224 would be. If I wrote this as a decimal, it's going to be 1.0000, and it's just going to be a lot of carrying on. So I'm not going to use that method of subtracting in column. I'm not going to use that method for this. I'm going to go from 1,224, and I'm trying to get to 10,000. What am I adding on? I'd first go to 1,300. And then I would go to 2,000, and then I would go to 10,000. From there to there, I've added 76, I've added 700, and I've added 8,000. If I add up all of these, I get 8,776. So this one would be 0.8776. Might just be a nice way for you to do these subtraction questions if there's a lot of zeros at the end. And it would be times 10 to the 8. Final answer that we've got so far is 0.8776 times 10 to the 8, but we need to change that into a normal number, into euros. We're going to times this by 10 to the 8. If I times it by 10 to the 1, it moves one place, then 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to need 4 more zeros at the end. 8776 with 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a comma could go there, and 1, 2, 3, and a comma could go there. So the difference was about 88 million. So that looks about right. Question 16. England have reached the semi-final of the World Cup. That's Foden looking like he's enjoying himself. The nation is officially convinced it's coming home. The probability that England win the semi-final against Wales is 0.6. We can put 0.6 here for winning against Wales. And these two will need to add up to make 1. 1 take away 0.6 is 0.4. The probability that they win the final against Brazil is 0.4. We put 0.4 here. And these two, again, need to add up to make 1. That'd be 0.6. That's winning against Brazil, again 0.4 and 0.6. We've completed the probability tree. Calculate the probability that England either wins the trophy or gets a third place loser's prize. I know which is more likely probably. We're going to win the trophy by winning both times.
You're going to win so much that you get tired of winning.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
And to get third place, we need to lose the first one, and then we need to win the second one. And if you're trying to find the probability of multiple events happening, we need to multiply these together, and then we're going to add up the two outcomes. 0.6 times 0.4 would be 0.24 for that one. And 0.4 times 0.4 would be 0.16. Just adding them together, 0.24 add 0.16, 24 add 16 would be 0.40 or just 0.4. Question 17. Sun scores a banger into the top corner of the goal. The ball is kicked from the ground and travels in a straight line. The horizontal distance from the ball to the goal line is 20 meters, that's already on. And the ball enters the goal at a height of 2.4 meters, and that's already on. Work out the angle of elevation of the kick. We're trying to work out this angle. They've called it theta, which is just a Greek letter. We'll just call it x, it doesn't really matter. Give your answer to one decimal place. We're going to be using some trig here because we've got a right angle triangle and we're trying to find one of the angles. Let's label up this triangle. The side opposite the right angle will be the hypotenuse. The side opposite the angle is opposite, and the side that's left over is adjacent. And we look, when we are trying to find angles, the side that we have are the A and the O. So which one from saw, cur, tower are we using? Which has A and O? It's going to be tan. And because it's an angle, we're going to be using inverse tan. The inverse tan of the opposite over the adjacent. Opposite is 2.4 over 20. And we'll type that into the calculator. Just remember, it's the inverse tan, shift tan of 2.4 over 20, which is 6.842. 6.842. And we want it to one decimal place. We'll round off there, and it's going to round down to 6.8 degrees. Part B, work out the distance the ball traveled. Give your answer in meters to two decimal places. Let's just draw this triangle out again. We've got two of the sides. We know that this one is 20 and this one is 2.4. You could also use trig for this one, but I think for this, because we've got two sides, it's a right angle triangle, it's probably just easier to use Pythagoras. We're trying to find the longer side because it's the hypotenuse, it's opposite the right angle. We're going to square both of these, 20 squared. We're going to add them together, and then we're going to square root that answer, and that will give us the value of x. If it's one of the shorter sides, you square them, you take them away from each other, and then you square root it. Let's type it in carefully. We've got 20 squared plus 2.4 squared, and it's all being square rooted, which would be 20.143 and 485. We want it to two decimal places. Count 1, 2. It will be there, so that means it's 20.14 meters. The speed of the ball is 108 kilometers per hour. Work out how long the ball takes to reach the goal. Give your answer in seconds to two decimal places. You can do this in a couple of different ways. You could use the distance, speed, time formula, but the way that I think I might do this is scale this to see how far is it traveling in 1 second in meters. Because this is in kilometers per hour, to change it into meters, we need to times it by 1,000. It'd be 108,000 meters per hour. We want to find out how far is it traveling every minute and then every second. If we want to find out for every minute, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, we divide by 60, and then for every second, we need to divide by 60 again. This will tell us how many meters is it traveling every second. 108,000 over 60, which is 30 meters per second. We know it's traveling 30 meters per second. We're going to use the distance, speed, time formula now, and we're trying to find the time, which is the distance divided by the speed. It's 20.14. divided by 30, 20.14 over 30, which is 0.671333, 0.6713 recurring, and we want it to two decimal places. We're going to count 1, 2, and it would be 0.67 seconds, and that makes sense. It should take about a second from it to go from Song's boot to the top of the goal. Question 18. Fans are voting for a Premier League Player of the Month. The 4 shortlisted players are Elliot Anderson, Jared Bowen, Cole Palmer, and Dominic Solanke. The results will be shown in a pie chart. The pie chart shows the sector for Elliot Anderson, and the angle for Elliot Anderson's sector is 52. They've already drawn that on. Twice as many fans vote for Jared Bowen as for Cole Palmer. Let's write that as a ratio. We've got Bowen to Cole, and we know that double the amount of fans voted for Bowen than Cole. That means Bowen will be twice as much as Cole. Twice as many fans voted for Dominic Solanke as Bowen. We've also got D here, and Dominic is double what Bowen would be. That means it would be 4 parts. Show that the sector for Cole Palmer has an angle of 44. We're going to share this between the remaining angles that we have here. And if you think about it, this is a circle. Full circle would be 360. And if we take away this 52, we're ending up with 308. We need to share 308 in this ratio. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7 parts. 7 parts which are going to be equal to 308. We want to find out what one part would be. That means we're dividing by 7 on both sides. 308 divided by 7, which is 44. And you can see that coal is one part. That means coal would be 44. And if you wanted to find out Bowen, it would be double that, which would be 88. And Dominic would be double that, which would be 160 plus 16, which would be 176. Part 2, complete the pie chart. The way that I would do this, I'd probably draw on Dominic's first, because that's quite a nice big angle, and I'd put his over here. That would be Dominic, and it's just going to be a little bit less than 180, so somewhere around there. And you use your protractor to measure this, and this angle would be 176. Then I would probably do Bowen, which would be 88. It's going to be something like this. Use your protractor, measure it properly, and then the way that you can check it is you measure this last angle, which would be 44, and this would be Cole's angle. And if the last angle is 44, that means you measured the other two correctly. If it is at 44, that means you've done it wrong somewhere. Part B, 39 fans voted for Elliot Anderson. Calculate the total number of fans who voted. We're going to use this sector here, which is 52 degrees. We're going to write degrees to fans, and we know that 39 fans, which were worth 52 degrees, and we want to find out what the full circle is worth. We're trying to get this to 360. Easy way to do this, we try to get it to 1, the unitary method. We divide by 52, and then we times it by 360. And we do the same thing with the other side. That would get it down to 1 degree, and then it would get it to 360. We can just do it in one step. 39 minus 52, which is, and then 360, which is 270. So the full circle would be worth 270 fans. Question 19. Schalke 04 fans have created a massive T4 display in the stadium. The legendary blue and white banner is shaped like a regular pentagon made using 10 congruent right-angled triangles. Congruent just means all of them are the same, radiating from the center. And you can see each side has 2 triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The length of one side of the pentagon is 12 centimeters. So that full side is 12. We could half that, divide by 2, and that means the base of one of the triangles is 6. Show that the area of the pentagon is 247.75 centimeters squared, correct 2 decimal places. We're trying to find out the full area of this pentagon. Is there any other information that we could figure out? I know that this is a full turn, this is a circle. That means that this full turn is being split up into 10 parts. 360 divided by 10 gives us 36. That means each of these angles are going to be 36 degrees. Let's just draw out one of these triangles and we'll focus on that one. The base is going to be 6 centimeters. That's my right angle, and we know that this angle is 36 degrees. We're trying to find out the area of it. How do you find out areas of triangles? You think about them as half of rectangles. We're going to do base times by height, and then we're going to divide it by 2. We have the base, but we don't have the height, so we're going to need to find that out. We've got a side, we've got an angle. It's a right angle triangle. That means we're going to be using SOHCAHTOA. We're using trig. Let's label up the sides. The side opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. Opposite the angle is opposite, and the side left over is the adjacent. We want the height, which is going to be the adjacent one. So the side that we have is my opposite. The side that we care about is my adjacent. Which of these are we going to be using? Are we using SOH? No, because it doesn't have A or O. We're using Ka. No, because no O or A, and Toa. It does have O and A. That means we're doing tan of 36 is equal to the opposite. Opposite is 6 over the adjacent, and the adjacent is X. And the way we can solve this is because everything on the right hand side is being divided by X, we can just swap these two things around. Just swapping these around, it becomes X is equal to 6 over tan 36. And I'm just going to leave it like that for now because I want to keep it in exact form till the end. It'll be 6 over tan 36. Let's find out the area of one of these triangles. We're doing the base times by the height. It'd be 6 times by 6 over tan 36. And all of that is being divided by 2. And then we need to multiply it. Because we have 10 triangles, we're multiplying it by 10. We can do a little bit of simplifying before we type it in the calculator. 6 times 6 is 36 over tan 36. This divide by 2 and this times 10 will cancel. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so we're timesing this by 5. Let's type this into the calculator. 36 over tan 36 again, multiplied by 5, which is 247.748. And if we round it to 2 decimal places like they want, it would be 247.75 centimeter squared. Question 20. 84 FUT players were surveyed about their weekly gameplay habits. The Venn diagram shows some of their results. 18 players play both squad battles and rivals. You can see the 18 there. And 6 players play neither. You can see that there. Both of those pieces of information are already on the diagram. The ratio of those who played squad battles to rivals is 7:5. That means the ratio of this whole circle and this whole circle will be 7:5. Complete the Venn diagram. We need to first find out what numbers go here. We've got the rest of the numbers. We're going to take away 84 minus the 6. 84 minus 6, the people on the outside, which is 78. I'm not going to take away the 18. I'm going to think about how could I write this as an equation. If the ratio is 7:5, that means it could be 7 people to 5 people, but it's not going to be that. That wouldn't work. Or it could be 14 people to 10 people. Or it could be 21 people to 15 people. I'm just timesing it by 2 and by 3 and by 4. It could be any of these, but instead of writing them all out, the way that we do this is we would write it as 7x to 5x. And if we add both of those together, 7x plus 5x, and take away the 18, the people in the middle, it's going to equal this 78. And now we can solve that to find what x is. That'd be 12x minus 18, so the opposite of that is adding 18. That'd be 88, 96. That means dividing by 12. X would be 8. And then we can find out what the 7x is worth and what the 5x is worth. 7 times by 8 would be 56. And 5 times by 8 would be 40. That means the total number of playing squad battles were 56, and the total number of players that played rivals was 40. We're going to do 56, take away 18 to find out this number. 56 take away 20 is 36, and if I add 2, I get to 38. And I'll do the same thing with that. 40 take away 18, which would be 22. And the way that you check this, if you add up all of these numbers, 22 add 18, 40, 78, and 84. It adds up to 84, so that means you've done it correct. Part B, one of the 84 players is chosen at random. Find the probability that they play rivals given that they play squad battles. Give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. Whenever I do these, I always do my denominator first. I just think it's a little bit easier. I'm going to look at this part here. Given they play squad battles means I'm looking at everyone that played squad battles. 38 plus 18 would be 48, 56. That's my denominator. And the people that played rivals from these 56 people are those 18. It'd be 18 over 56. Quick way you can simplify it, you can just type it into your calculator and then it'll automatically simplify it for you. 18 over 56, which would be 9 over 28. You can't really do much with it. You just divide them both by 2. That's just, if you have a calculator, you can just use it. Question 21. Harry Maguire wears the prime shirt number A. What are prime numbers? They're just numbers with 2 unique factors. That means the first prime number would be 2, then 3, then 5. 1 is at a prime number because it only has 1 factor. 2 has 2 and 1, 3 has 3 and 1, 5 has 5 and 1. Scott McTominay wears the prime shirt number B. It's given that A cubed times by B squared is 200. We know that they're both prime numbers. It's going to be one of the, I think they're going to be quite small numbers because we're cubing them and then we're squaring the other one. Let's just try it with 2 as our A. If we do 2 times 2 times 2, we get 8, and 200 divided by 8, if you half it 3 times, it would give you 25. That's saying that B squared is equal to 25, and you can square root both sides. It would be B is equal to 5. And you just check, is that a prime number? It is. That means A is going to be 2, and B is going to be 5. It's quite lucky, that one. A to the 4 times by B, we're substituting 2 in there. 2 to the 4 times by 5. To get 2 to the 4, you just double it again. We get 4, and then 8, and then 16. That's 2 squared, 2 cubed, 2 to the 4. That's 16 times by 5. 16 times by 5, you might know this, it's 80. Or if you know 15 times by 5, or you can do 16 times by 10 and then divide by 2. Either way, the final answer would be 80. Anthony wears the prime shirt number C. Casemiro wears the prime shirt number D. Circle the expression for which C to the 4 times by D squared times by E is a cube number. And in all of these, if you notice, E is the subject. E is equal to CD, E is equal to something. The way that I'm going to approach this is if I swap this E with the value that they've given, the expression that they've given, I've got C to the 4 times by D squared times by CD. And what would that give you? The C to the 4 times by the C gives you C to the 5 times by the D squared times D is D cubed. And this will be a cube number, but this won't be a cube number, because for it to be a cube number, it will need to have a power that's a multiple of 3. So that one does not work. For the next one, if we substitute E as C squared D, C to the 4 times by D squared times by C squared D. C to the 4 times C squared would be C6. D squared times D would be D cubed. And both of these divide by 3. That means it is going to be a cube number. It would be that one. If you did it with that one, it would give you C to the 6 d to the 4. That one works, but that one doesn't, so that's wrong. If you did it with this, it would be c to the 7 and d to the 5, and neither of those are cubes, so it doesn't matter. Question 22. A Jude Bellingham FUT birthday card is sitting at 90,000 coins on the transfer market. EA drops a winter upgrade stats boost. He gets a pace upgrade, a shooting boost, and a finish shot plus playstyle. His price increases by 8%. How do we increase something by a percentage? We start off with 1, and because it's an increase, we do plus the percentage as a decimal. This as a decimal, if you divide it by 100, you end up with 0.08, 1.08. So if you want to increase something by 8%, we would times by 1.08. EA releases a patch and Finesse Shot Plus gets nerfed. He's removed from every weekend league squad and panic sold. His price decreases by 3%. If we're decreasing something, it's kind of similar when we're increasing. We do 1 minus this as a decimal, 0.03, which means we would multiply by 0.97. Is his final price worth more than 100,000 coins? We're starting at 90,000. We need to times it by the 1.08 to increase by 8%, and then we're going to times it by 0.97. We'll do this on the calculator. 90,000 times by 1.08 times by 0.97, which is 94284. 94284. The answer would be no, because this is less than £100,000. We could just write less than 100,000. Question 23. Eden Hazard's market value was €150 million in 2019. By 2023, his market value had fallen to €5 million. Assume his value decreased by the same percentage each year, compounded annually. Work out the annual percentage depreciation rate correct to one decimal place. This is a compound interest question. We need to know our compound interest formula, which would be our original times by a decimal multiplier, and that would be raised to the amount of repetitions, to the power of the repetitions. We're starting off with 150 million and we're ending up at 5. So this equation is going to be equal to 5. We're timesing by a decimal multiplier, which we don't know where it is. And because it's a decrease, it's going to be 1 minus something. And we're trying to find out what that percentage is here. And the amount of times that it repeated, 2019 was the first year. So 2020 would be 1, 2021, 2, 2022 would be 3, and then 4. So it's to the power of 4. 1 minus x to the power of 4. We've got an equation here. We just need to find out what x is. We've got the left-hand side being multiplied by 150. So if we divide by 150 on both sides, we're left with 1 minus x to the power of 4 is equal to 5 over 150. And to get rid of this power of 4, we're going to find the 4th root of that. So it'd be 1 minus x is equal to the 4th root of 5 over 150. And we can swap this minus x with all of this. So then we end up with 1 minus the 4th root of 5 over 150, which is equal to x. Let's type that in. 1 minus the 4th root. So look for the root button. We're going to put 4 there. And then we want a fraction. It'd be 5 over 150. And x is equal to 0.572712. And we need to remember that this here is formatted as a decimal. So this is at a percentage yet. We need to times it by 100. It would become 57.3% because our decimal place is going to go there. 57.3. Every single year, his price was going down by almost half. It was halving every single year. The way you could check it, you could do 150 times by 1 minus 0.573 to the power of 4, and it should give you 5. Question 24. 3 players stand on a training pitch forming a passing triangle as shown. The angles of the triangle are A, B, and C. We've got Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets there. It's given that B is 40, A to B is 3 to 2, B to C is 5 to 10. Work out the value of angle A and the value of angle C. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get a ratio of A to B to C, A to B to C. And A to B is 3 to 2, and B to C is 5 to 10. It's kind of similar to when you're adding or subtracting fractions. We're trying to get these denominators, this middle number, to be the same. Because we have the information for the B's, we're trying to make this the same. So the lowest common multiple of 2 and 5 would be 10. I've multiplied the top one by 5, and I've multiplied this one by 2. This 3 times by 5 would give me 15, and 10 times by 2 would be 20. There's 2 different ways you could do this question. We could share 180 because we know it's a triangle in this ratio. But because we know B is 40, I can put 40 here. And that means from 10 to 40, I've times by 4. I need to times everything else by 4. 15 times 4 would be 60. And 20 times by 4 would be 80. And you can see if I add up all of these numbers, I get 180. A is 60. and C is 80 degrees. Question 25. Last minute Leon has one card of each type left in his club. Team of the week, team of the season, hero, icon, and future stars. He completely forgets about the prime R9 SBC final segment that he needs to complete all week, and it expires in 30 minutes. This is the last piece he needs to complete Ronaldo. Each position in the SBC must be filled using a different type of special cards. The available card types are team of the week, team of the season, hero, icon, and future stars, and it's good that he has one of all. The SBC rules are all 4 players must be different card types. 1 slot is locked as a hero card. That means he's got 4 slots that he needs to fit, and 1 slot will be the hero card. We're finding combinations here. The first card, I'm going to set it as my hero card. It's always going to be that hero card, so I can get rid of that. For my second option, I could put either my team of the week, team of the season, icon, or future star. That means I have 4 options for that one. And then let's say I got rid of that team of the week. I've got 3 options for that next pick. And let's say I got rid of my team of the season. I probably wouldn't do that. I have 2 of these left. So I can pick from 2, 4 times by 3 times by 2, 4 times by 6 would be 24. There's 24 different squads that I could choose. Question 26. The center of a circle of a pitch is at the origin 0, 0. The equation of the center circle is x squared plus y squared equals 125. The equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. If I found out the square root of 125, that would tell me the radius, but I don't need that right now. KDB plays a straight ball that touches the edge of the circle at point 10, 5. Work out the equation of the tangent to the circle at point 8. Give your answer in the form y equals mx plus c. Let's just draw this out so that we understand what's going on. We've got a circle, and the radius, if you think about the square root of 100 and the square root of 144, it's going to be somewhere around 10. It's going to be a little bit bigger than 10. Put 10 there. We don't really need that, but it just helps us visualize it a little bit better. The ball is going to touch the edge of the circle at 10.5. 10.5 would be around about there, because it's going to be close to the edge of the radius, and it's going to be a little bit up. 10.5 would be here. That means the ball is going to look something like that. We want to try and find out what this equation is. The first thing that we're going to need to find out is the gradient of the line that is perpendicular to the tangent. There's a right angle going on there, because if I draw a line, a radius, to the edge of the circle where this tangent is touching, there's 90 degrees there. If we can find out that gradient, then we can find out the new gradient and the new line. What would that gradient be? This point is 10.5, and gradient is the change in y divided by the change in x. So m, the change in y, it's gone up by 5, and it's going to cross by 10. 5 over 10 is a half. That means the gradient of this new line, it's going to be the inverse reciprocal. Because this is a positive, it's going to be a negative. And the reciprocal means it's going to be flipped, -2. So if you're ever finding a perpendicular line, you find the inverse reciprocal of the gradient. That gradient will be -2, and that makes sense because it's going downwards. So the gradient is -2, and we have an x coordinate and we have a y coordinate. If we substitute all of those pieces of information into here, we can find out what that equation is. Y is equal to 5. We know m is -2, x is 10, the coordinate, plus c. We're trying to find out where does it cross. It's going to be somewhere up here. -2 times 10 is -20 plus c. And we need to add this 20 to both sides. 25 is equal to c. And like I said before, it's going to be up here at about 25. We've got this piece of information and this piece of information. We just need to write that as an equation of a line. Y is equal to -2x plus 25. Or you could write it as 25 minus 2x. It doesn't matter. Kante is sprinting to intercept the pass. That's Kante covering the world. They say 70% of the world is covered in water. The rest of the world is covered with Kante. The path of his run is modeled by the straight line y equals 2x minus 39. Work out the coordinates of the point where he meets the ball. This is the ball's trajectory where KDB has played it. And this is where he's going to run to intercept that pass. We need to find the coordinates where he meets the ball. We're going to make these equal to each other because we have a y equals and a y equals. I think that will be the easiest way to solve it. So 2x plus 25 for that top one is equal to 2x minus 39. We've got x's on both sides. We want to move our letters to one side and our numbers to the other side. I've got this minus 2x, so I'm going to move that to the other side. It's better if we have positive letters, positive variables. And this minus 39, if I move it, I add 39. 25 add 39, I'm also adding 2x, that will disappear. 25 add 39, if I do 25 add 40, it's 65. Take away 1 is 64, is equal to 4x. 2x plus 2x is 4x. And we got rid of this minus 39. X is being multiplied by 4. If I divide it by 4, half it twice, it'd be 32 and 16. X is 16. I need to find the y coordinate. I'm going to choose the easiest equation from these two. I'll choose that one. And I'm substituting 16 into it. Y equals 2x minus 39. and I know that x is 16. It's going to be 2 multiplied by 16 minus 39, 32 minus 39, which would be negative 7. The x coordinate is 16 and the y coordinate is minus 7. He's actually picking it up somewhere along here. KDB played the ball in that direction and Kante will pick it up over here. Question 27. A football coach measures a player's training. P, Q, and R have positive values. P is a player's training load. Q is the length of the session in hours. R is a player's recovery time in hours. P is directly proportional to Q. And you can see Messi relaxing there. He's getting his recovery time in. P is directly proportional to Q. We can write P is equal to K multiplied by Q. So it's something multiplied by Q. We don't know what this K is, but it says when P is 8, Q is 2. When P is 8, Q is 2. So it's going to be 2 lots of K. And that means K for this one, K would be equal to 4. And we can write that as an equation. P equals 4Q. R is inversely proportional to Q squared. This time it's going to be R is equal to K over, because it's inverse, Q squared is written like that. When R equals 10, 10 is equal to K over, Q is 3, so I'm swapping that 3 squared with 9. It's been divided by 9, that means K would be equal to 90. I'm going to swap this with 90. R is equal to 90 over Q squared. Work out the value of R when P is 0.5. We know P goes over here, and we've already got the equation. I've got that equation, and I've got that equation. We're substituting 0.5 equals 4Q. Q is being multiplied by 4. I need to divide by 4. 0.5 divided by 4. Half it twice, it'd be an eighth. Or you could write it as 0.125. I think I'd just write it as eighth is equal to Q, because it'll be easier to work with if it's as a fraction. We now know what Q is. We can put it into this second equation that we got. R is equal to 90 over 1/8 squared. Just write it like that, 1/8 squared. And we just need to find out what R is. 1/8 times by 1/8 would be 1 over 64. 90 divided by 1 over 64. I need to multiply these two together, the 64 by the 90. Let's see what we get. 64 times by 90, which is 5,760. 5,760. Okay, question 28. I think this is the last question. Edison launches a huge overarm throw to start a quick attack. Ball hits the ground once, skids forward, and then rises again as it travels up the pitch. And the height h of the ball after it bounces is modeled by the equation minus 2x squared. That means it's a upside down u, where x is the horizontal distance in meters from the bounce point. Write minus 2x squared minus 12x plus 20 in the form d bracket x plus e squared plus f, where d, e, and f are integers. As soon as you see this, you should be thinking to yourself, I need to be completing the square here. I'm going to pull out this minus 2 first. I've got minus 2 bracket x squared. Dividing this by minus 2 would be plus 6x and plus 20 on the outside. We normally just half this coefficient of the x, and then we're going to get negative 2x plus 3 squared. And if you did 3 squared, you get 9, but we want to balance it out. We've got minus 9. I'm going to put another bracket around that, plus 20. Negative 2 times negative 9 is positive 18. We've still got that negative 2x plus 3 squared plus 18, and plus 20 would be plus 38. That would be the final answer. You can see D is negative 2, E is positive 3, and F is 38. Part B, hence state the maximum height of the ball after the bounce. Let's just imagine we have the graph of y equals negative x squared. It would be looking something like that. It's got an upside down U shape. This graph has been moved 3 to the left, and then it's moved up by 38. So it's moved 3 to the left and up by 38. That coordinate of 0, 0 is now negative 3, 38. The graph would look somewhat like that. Be negative 338. We just want the maximum height of the ball. The height of that ball would be 38 meters. That's the end of the questions for today. If you have any recommendations for topics that you'd like to see, then just let me know what kind of maths questions you want. Otherwise, if you have any comments, feel free to drop them below, or you can check out my website if you have more questions. I'll see you soon.